friend. And thank you to all the educators who are joining us today. Many of you said hello in the chat. If you didn't, jump in the chat, say hello, let me know your name, where you're coming from. And my first question in the chat, what's your energy level right now? 10 is you are energized, you are sky high, you are rocketing. And 1 is you barely can lift your head off the computer. Tell me your energy level right now, because I want to raise your energy. I got some 5s, 6s, 7s. I got 1 8. I got a 4. Suki, I got a 4. Guys, make sure you put your chat on everyone so everyone can see. Misty, Diane, we got a 4 and a 5. 7.5. Thanks, Nikisha. All right, we're going to do this again at the end. My goal today is to engage you, to inspire you, to energize you, but also work with you and help you on building those partnerships, building those relationships. Okay, and I want to move this over here. No, that's not the one I want to move. Let's move this. I got the 2 screens working. Where am I? Where'd it go, Arlen? Oh, sorry, guys.
That's all right. Yeah, we're seeing your email at this.
Yeah, let's get that out of there.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You don't want us to help read through your emails?
I got a lot unanswered there. All right, let's try that again. Share my screen, and now it's in front of me. Oh, then you would think after doing this a few times, I would have had it down. Here we go.
With 2 monitors, it gets tricky to which screen you're sharing.
It's tricky. How's that, Arlen?
That's good. Let's see in slideshow view, and that looks
good?
Great. Yep, we're
all
all good.
Right. Well, good. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Arlen, for straightening me out there. But I want to build these partnerships, really, these relationships. As an educator, it's imperative that we do it. So we're going to start out with a story. I do have my timer going. One thing I've learned about PD, no matter how good it is, make sure you hit your end so we'll get you out on time as well. But you might be saying, well, whose job is it to build those partnerships? Whose job is it? Well, let's find out. Maybe you have these people who work in your school. So this is a story, and it's a story about 4 people. Everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. And there was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Do you have these people who work in your school? Maybe. I know these people. I've met them before. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everyone's job. I mean, seriously, how could everybody not do it, right? Well, everybody thought that anybody was going to do it. But nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. And it ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Whose job is it, everyone? It's our job. It's all of our jobs to build those partnerships, build those relationships in our communities. So let's get started. Let's get rolling. I hope some of you have been with me before, but I'm Andrew Marotta, surviving and thriving. My children, my wife there. I'm a 20-year school leader here in New York, 20-year building principal. And then those kids grew up. They grew up. There they are there. If you go back, they used to support my books. Now they're throwing them out the window. I can't get them to be involved with the books at all. But they grow up, and I'm blessed to have 3 teenagers. I'm coming to you from Port Jervis, New York. And if you look at on the map, we're right there on the border of New York, New Jersey, and PA. A great spot, great town here in Orange County, New York, an hour and a half northwest of New York City. And there's some of the work we've done at Port Jervis schools. Again, like you, right? Focusing on that graduation rate. I see we have some behavior specialists, things like that in here. But working hard to kind of clean up our schools. And I used to referee. I used to referee college basketball, and that was a great run. It helped me in so many aspects of being a school leader, building those partnerships along that journey. And it wasn't always so bad. You think about the 2 jobs, school leader, school building principal, and referee. You're in the spotlight. You got to make quick decisions. People are angry sometimes at those decisions. You have to enforce the rules. You're in the action of what's happening. So many similarities. and I was blessed that those roles helped me. And here we are, folks. Again, we're talking about building relationships, and this was the first school parade after COVID. People canceled their graduations. What could you do? So we had a graduation parade. We had those individual ceremonies like many schools did. And then we had a parade. And it was just an incredible celebration of our community. And look, there's my family. They came with me. It was an incredible moment. And I had hundreds of deposits along that journey. And there was one big withdrawal right there, a celebration of all that work I did over that time to build those relationships. That's one of my favorite pictures and one of my favorite memories of my time here in Port Jervis. And here's what we're going to do today. 3 topics, how and where and when to build those partnerships. Number 1 is the one-on-one conversation. Number 2, that large setting, the auditorium, the assembly, that big meeting, that parent assembly, open house night, things like that. And the last one is everything but the kitchen sink, everything, all those other interactions that we have to build those partnerships. So 3 sessions. And again, I talked about energy. How can I transfer my energy to you through the computer, whether you're in Illinois, whether you're around the world? How can we make that happen? So we're going to start here. Always be communicating. Never miss an opportunity to let them see you shine. From the second you get out of your car to the second you get back in that car. And does your car have the school bumper sticker on it? Does it have something with your school on it? Well, Andrew, I want to keep my school separate from my life as a school leader. I get that. But even that is a sign of communication, because you never want to miss an opportunity to let that school community, let them see you shine. It's not showing off, it's shining, because they hired you to be a member of that school community. So always be communicating. So here's something to think about, and I'm going to ask a question here in the chat. I'm going to see how I can get the chat up while I'm talking. No, sorry. When I refereed, every call is graded. It's graded on 4 things: a correct call, an incorrect call, a correct no call. You didn't blow the whistle, but it was right. And then an incorrect no call. You should have had a whistle. So 4 grades. And the best referees didn't have the highest correct call percentage. I'll say that again. It might be a little confusing. The best referees, the highest rated referees, did not have the highest percentage of calls correct. So what were they? What were they graded on? So jump in the chat right now. What were the best referees graded on? I'll ask that question. Let's go into the chat. I want to get the chat up while I'm presenting. I'll stop presenting. How's that? Then am I still presenting here? Here we are.
Yeah, looks good. You're out of slideshow view, but we can see your screen still.
Yeah, but I can't. I want to see the chat as I'm with you.
Oh, right. Hover over up at the top of your screen is going to be a toolbar. If you hover up there, it should drop down and you should be able to open chat.
This guy, you're the best. All right, let's try that again.
Yeah, hover at the top. See, and then a little toolbar should drop down, and then you should be able to click the chat open.
I got grid video. Let's see. Show chat. Where is this? Last time it just popped up.
Yeah, it should pop up as you hover up there. If you want to try, you can stop sharing your screen and then open the chat and then see when you share your screen if it stays open.
Yeah, sorry folks about this. Oh, you know what? Here it is. It's on the other screen. That's what the problem.
Oh, okay. Good. That's a good place for
it. Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right. That question is, the best referees, what were they graded on? We had robot referees because it worked too well. Calls were accurate. Everyone hated it. Yeah. Yeah, good. So that's the question in the chat. If the best referees weren't being graded on the correct calls, what were they being graded on? If you didn't show you weren't upset, nah. Fair judgment, good guess, Suki. Difficult decision making. Anyone else? They were being graded on their communication, their engagement with the coach, their how they interacted with the coach. They were engaged, how they engaged, and that was what they were graded on there. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit. The one-on-one, those one-on-one conversations. Here's the next question in the chat. What are some things that we do as educators that give us hurdles, that give us anxieties, that make those conversations maybe not go as good as they should? What are some things that we do that screw those things up? So there's in the chat. Jump in there. What are some things that we do to screw up those one-on-one interactions? Not preface news with something positive. Great point, Jamie. Not setting the objective. Hey, what are we here to talk about? Aaron, talking too much, right? We have one mouth and two ears. Yeah. Elena, right? Sometimes we're a little afraid, maybe sugarcoating it. Good points. Not being clear. Good points. One more. Yeah. Clarifying questions. You guys know it. You know how we screw these things up. And sometimes we prejudge them, right? We go in with some bias and prejudging. So here's a couple things that I would recommend. Denise, great point. Being too emotional. Always try to get them to come in. And maybe when they do come in, don't jump right into the meeting. Mrs. Jones is angry. You're going into your office. Hey, Mrs. Jones, why don't you put your stuff down? Would you like a bottle of water? Let's take a walk. Let's take a walk down the hallway. I want to show you the new C-Tech wing. We did some construction here. Miss Jones, I know you went to school here 20 years ago, but this is brand new. I'd like to show you that. And now you're walking with Mrs. Jones. And instead of you sitting across the desk from her, now you're walking with her. You're in the hallway. Her energy's going this way, right? And now she sees you high five the custodian. Now she sees you pick up a piece of paper on the ground. Now she sees you see Jamal in the hallway and give him a high five. She sees how you are in real life versus this mean leader that she sees, right? You're talking with them. You're a human. Ask them to come in, but try to go for the walk and talk is what I call it, right? Don't sit behind the desk. You're the big bad principal. You're the big school leader. Don't sit behind that desk. Mrs. Jones, before we get to the meeting, how's your son, Michael? He was a great kid. How many years ago did he graduate? Right? You ask about them. And then you say, hey, Miss Jones, I know you're upset. You want to go first, or do you want me to explain some things I learned since this morning? I found out a few things. Do you want to go first? Yeah, Mr. Marotta, I do want to go first, right? Ask them if they want. Now, I love this slide. One of the things that I used to do as a referee was review the tape. We'd have to review what had the game. So imagine your meetings were on tape and you got to review them. Imagine that. Write these three numbers down. If I could have somebody put them in the chat for me, write those three numbers down. If you're at your desk now at school, write those three numbers down. There we go. Thanks, Alana. Right? Talking about communication. We're talking about building partnerships. Well, here's communication. Did you know that only 8% of communication is words? Only 8. That's unbelievable. 37% of communication is tone. I could be standing here talking to you like this, talking about building partnerships. But if I wasn't animated, you'd be saying this guy's terrible. Tone is 37%. And 55%, everybody, unbelievably, is your body language. How are you showing up? How are you communicating? Those numbers are unbelievable. Try it at your with your dog at home. If your dog comes walking up and you say, "You are the ugliest, smelliest, ugly dog I've ever seen in my whole life. Now come over here." They're going to come over with their tail wagging because they don't know what you're saying, but you're saying it in a nice way. So think about those numbers. I can't get over that. I'm shocked by those numbers, but they are true. You can look them up. Your body language. Here's a couple other tricks of the trade. Always take good notes. Arlen and I just had a meeting beforehand. Take good notes. Write them down. Don't interrupt them. Mrs. Jones, I got 10 points here of why you're upset about your son, Michael. Let me review them with you, okay? And I even do this. I like props. I'll say, Mrs. Jones, here's a magic wand. Here you go. What is it that you would like to have happen? Well, I want Michael's failing grade to be passing. Well, Mrs. Jones, that's not how life works. But what can we do? Has he asked the teacher to make up some of his assignments? Has he stayed after school? He's been absent all 4 days this week. It's Thursday. Is he coming to school tomorrow? You're giving her an avenue to talk, right? But I use the props. I also got this prop here. I love this prop. Mrs. Jones, if I gave you a wish here, what is it that you want to have happen, right? I use the props. I think they help. And they also certainly lighten the load. Here's Mrs. Jones. Blowing up a balloon in front of people's awkward. But when Mrs. Jones comes in, everybody, in that one-on-one meeting, she's angry. She's upset. Let her talk. Let her vent. Now, what do you have here? What do you do? Here's the next question in the chat. What did you just do by letting the air out of the balloon? What'd you just do? Jump in the chat. I appreciate the people writing the talking points in there. Yeah, Catherine, some surface tension. She feels heard, Alana. Yes, she does. Yes, provided relief. You just listened. You nodded, right? Yeah, good, Suki. And you gave yourself some room. Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for sharing all that information. Here's what we're going to do. I got your 10 points here. Let me reflect on those, and let me call you tomorrow morning at lunchtime, tomorrow afternoon at lunchtime, and we'll go through some of them, right? You listened, she felt heard, she feels validated. You're not necessarily agreeing with her. You are validating them, listening. All right, part 2, the big setting. You're in that big room. If you get nervous as a speaker, I hear you. We're going to give you some tips here of what you can do, but having control of that big room, having the ability to control the big room is important. And you start with a story. I know there's a lot of people from Illinois here. I think you might have heard of a basketball player who played there. His name's Michael. If you haven't watched the movie Air, I'm going to recommend you do. But it's the story of Michael signing with Nike. So maybe you have a faculty meeting coming up. Maybe you want to use this at the end of your year. Maybe you want to use this story at the beginning of your year. But to own the big space, you got to tell the right story at the right time to the right people. So I would use this story in Illinois. We all know the ending, that Michael signs with Nike. So Mrs. Jordan calls Phil Knight and she says, Phil, we're going to sign with you. And Nike is going crazy. They're thrilled that they're going to sign with him. And she says, there's just one thing, Phil. Michael needs 5% of every shoe sold. Phil Knight was like, what? We can't do that. That's making Michael an owner in the company. And she said, Phil, it's just a shoe until Michael steps into it. It's just a shoe until Michael steps into it. And now you could use that story in your school. It's just a classroom until you step into it. It's just another school until it's led by you, the principal. It's just another district until it's led by our superintendent. It's just another desk until you, the student, sits in it. You can use that story to capture the attention of your crowd and put the meeting on the right tone, right? Use that story. It's just a shoe, Phil, until Michael steps into it. If you want to hold your phone up and get the QR code, there's the story there. I wrote a blog about it right there. Okay, I'll give you a second to do that. All right. Stories, props, and stories, right? I have used this story. Again, there's the QR code. I'm giving you the story. I've used this story in so many different settings. I can't even tell you. Graduations, moving up, opening day, open house. I've used it in a lot of places. If you've seen me present in person, you've seen me do this because then I give away the pencil. See, there's 5 attributes to the great pencil. And I'll make this as I'm talking to my staff. And I would bring a staff member up and I'd say, hey, what do you notice about this pencil? What makes it great? And we'd start with the point, that the point, it makes a great pencil. And when it gets dull, you have to sharpen it. I'd move here. Hey, what does this mean? And they'd say, well, it's for mistakes. And I'd say, yes, the great pencil can erase their mistakes. And so can you. You can erase your mistakes and we have to forgive ourselves. Can this pencil write on every surface in this room? And the answer is yes. It's adaptable to its surface. And so are you as an educator in today's world. You're adaptable. What's more important, folks? What's on the outside or on the inside? And they would all say, what's on the inside? That's right. That the lead on the inside is most important. And the last question, folks, can this pencil be great if it's on its own, just sitting there, or in my hand? And the answer is, it has to be held in someone else's hand. And so do you as an educator, and especially in today's world, especially to build partnerships. You have to allow yourself to be held in somebody else's hands. You tell the right story at the right time to the right people. Stories sell, facts tell. So there's 2 stories that you can use in a big setting. If you have an auditorium full of kids, when you're done, you give them each a pencil, a sharpened pencil, right? To do that there. So 2 stories for you. And if you're afraid, I get it, but move away from the podium. Sometimes we hide behind the podium. Well, Mr. Marotta, I get nervous. My hands shake. If you get nervous and you're afraid that your hands are going to shake, I'm pretending that this is the microphone. Hold your arm against your chest like this. And you kind of prop your arm against your chest. But walk around, walk in the aisles, right? Moving away from the podium provides proximity. If I was presenting to you in person, I'm in the aisles, I'm high-fiving people, and I'm looking you in the eye. Proximity, eye contact, all very important. I do an activity called hand raisers. Here online, we ask you who you are, where you are from the chat. But if we were here in Port Jervis, I'd say raise your hand if you graduated from Port Jervis. Raise your hand if you have your first child in the school. Your first child is starting high school. Raise your hand if it's your last child. And we give those people a round of applause. They've been around a long time. You're getting people involved. Hand raisers help. I like to do 2 claps. I don't do the, right? You go to an awards assembly and they're clapping and clapping and clapping. I do 2 claps. I can't see you right now, but I'd say 2 claps and people do that. That's my little thing to connect the audience. If you're an elementary person, you know that those elementary people do all of that they do all that stuff. Whatever it is to get your audience engaged, absolutely there. You got to train them. Do you have live music? I got ADD, folks. I don't want to walk into a blank auditorium. Ask the high school band to play. Ask the kids to sing before the concert. And if you can't get the kids or the music teachers to do it, make sure you have a dope playlist on Spotify that you're playing music. And in addition to that music, here you can take this. This is my rotating slideshow of quotes and pictures. I'm giving it to you. When parents, when teachers walk in that faculty meeting, are you showing nice pictures of kids, smiling families, laughing teachers, and inspirational quotes? You can take it and use it right there. This is that rotating slideshow right there for you to have. Okay, I'll give you a minute to take that. So I'm giving it to you. It'll make you make a copy, and then you can use that. Take out the pictures of Andrew Marotta and put in your school's pictures, your kids' pictures. And that's a great way to build partnerships. I like to build partnerships by taking a deep breath. I know I can't see you, but I want you to do this with me, everybody. You being ready to greet your audience, to greet those kids, to greet those teachers, you've got to take care of yourself. Here's a real quick self-help tip, and it helps you be ready before you go into that big auditorium. You ready? Here we go. You're going to breathe in for 7 seconds. You're going to hold for 7 seconds, and then you're going to breathe out for 7 seconds. You might think it's silly, but do it with me. If you're sitting in your desk, stand up right now. Stand up. It's in the afternoon. It's after school. You ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. More than just a deep breath. Before you go into that big auditorium, do the 7, 7, and 7. It's a great tip to kind of reset yourself there. All right. I'm going to stop sharing, and let's go to the chat a moment. Questions, comments, best takeaway so far. Jump in with a question in the chat. I want to engage you a little bit. What's the question you have? What was your best takeaway so far? We did the one-on-one, and we did the large setting. Can I share the PowerPoint? You know what, Sue? I will do that. Normally, I don't give out my slideshows, but I will here. Yeah. Stories sell, facts tell. That's right, Catherine. I am having a hard time navigating the 2 screens today. Sorry, I'm usually better at this. Suki, we'll do it at the end. I'll share it with you, okay? Yeah, Alana, that's a great story. It's just another classroom until you step into it. You tell that story to your teachers, and you could show the clip of Mrs. Jordan talking to Phil Knight. Yeah. Yeah, Ryan, absolutely. They got this image in you that you're some, nutty educator, that you're mean to their kid. Meanwhile, they see you in your school gear. They see you acknowledging people by their first names. You see saying please, saying thank you, opening the door for people. They see how many kids you know, right? All of those things. Yeah, Keisha, the stories, they absolutely resonate. That's how you build relationships. Ryan, that parent's angry. They're not going to be so angry with you in the hallway, too. It's a little kind of public defense for sure. One more question or comment. Thank you for jumping in the chat. Props, too, guys. I got a whole bag of props. This is my prop bag, right? You might be looking, saying, hey, what's he got in there? You never know what's happening. You never know what you're going to need here in the, I like that you share with us. We take good notes, summarize, ask, what is it you want to have happen? Yeah, good. You guys are paying attention today. Oh, this is a nice group. All right, I'm going to jump back to the share screen. Suki, let me remind me, and I'll share the thing with you. Okay, the slideshow. All right, where are we? Here we are. Share. Okay. I'm going to move this here, over here. Okay. Where's the chat? There we are. Okay. All right. Tell me, can you see my screen, Suki? And Suki, you gotta talk to everyone. Good. Okay. All right. Thanks, Carmel. All right. So we did these first two, the one-on-one in the auditorium, and now it's all these other things that you could do to build those partnerships. Everything else in the kitchen sink. And I believe this. I believe in the power of a single experience. One little interaction can go so far in a good way or a bad way. So this thing is, is an old-fashioned thing, but we're busy. Greet people at the door. If you're going to the school play and it starts at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, you better be in front of that door at 1:30, shaking hands, kissing babies. You're greeting people. If it's open house night, you're out front of the school, you're giving out flyers, you're standing there welcoming people to your school. It is an old-fashioned kind of way to do it. But if you're coming to my house, I'm greeting you at the door. I'm welcoming you in. We'll do the same thing at your school. You're the captain of the ship. And there's the front of my school right there, right? Building relationships, building partnerships. You got to make sure it looks nice. What do you see right there? Tell me some things real fast in the chat. What do you see? Jump in the chat. Just what do you see in the front of the school right there? Happy, positive message on the board. Welcome. Flowers, Aaron. Flowers. The marquee. Yeah, the sign. There's a bench in there. There's the bricks in there. Someone's cleaning the window. Yeah, bench. There's garbage cans. And it clearly says what the school is. And we added on the pergola behind it, we added the four pillars of the National Honor Society. Well manicured, Diane. You're dang right it is, because I want to build partnerships with everybody who's walking in. And when they're walking in, it's clean. There's no garbage on the floor. I mean, I'm out there at dismissal using my sweeper thing, making sure it looks clean. And here's another story. Put your phone up there. It's a story about my son. He was 12 years old at the time, and he elbowed me. There was a car dealership. We were at a traffic light, and it was to the right. And he said, "Hey, Dad, I bet you know they don't sell a lot of cars there." I said, "What are you talking about, Matthew?" And he said, "Look over, Dad. The cars aren't really clean. The sign is faded. There's no balloons. It kind of looks dingy." 12 years old, he said that. And I say this with the most respect for kids. They're like dogs. They will sniff you out. They know. So make sure that school looks beautiful. This was one of the best compliments I ever got from a lifelong Port Jervian. He said this to me when he retired, and I never forgot that. It meant so much to me that he said that to me. So make sure the school looks clean. It's important, building those relationships. And what does the signage in your building look like, right? What do they say? What do they look like? Here's a sign we put up years ago. It says, "Proud to be drug and smoke free." It doesn't say no smoking, smoking prohibited. It says we are proud to be smoke free. Were we smoke free when I put the sign up? Did people make fun of me? Did people tease me? Yes. Did we eventually get there? And the answer is yes, we did, right? Here's a typical day at my school. That's just one day. I got my port shirt on tonight. We have a school board meeting here tonight in New York. But my assistant principal and I, we were dressed in our port gear. We got port signs up, our colors. Branding your school is so important to build relationships with people. They know you care about the place, especially when you wear the garb. Look at some of the signs here. I'm not going to read those to you, but look at some of the signs. Suki, I've learned to love red. I could wear Port Jervis shirts every day of the school year and not repeat it for a whole year, Suki. I got 20 years here in Port Jervis, so that's a lot of shirts. But they know I got Port pride, and I'm certainly not afraid to show it. Look at these signs, right? Where did I steal the one on the right from? What company or what brand did I steal that from? Jump in the chat. Portillo's? No. Yeah, Aaron, guess what? The milk lawyers haven't called me, right? That's a little play on words there. And we don't say be respectful. We say, have you shown your port pride? They know what that means, right? Our signs are written in a certain way because we want to communicate. This was during the TikTok challenge where they were destroying the schools. I know there's a little shine on that picture, so I'll read it to you. It says, boys, this is a note from Mr. Marotta. Please show your port pride. We are trying to make Port Jervis Middle School the best it can be. Be a leader, not a follower. Be a builder, not a destroyer. Help inspire and do the right thing. Please do not damage the dispensers and the bathroom fixtures. Thank you in advance, Mr. Marotta. Did they rip it down and throw it in the toilet? Yes. Did I go back in there and tape it up really good? Yes. Did it eventually stop? The answer is yes, because we wanted to model that positivity. Here's another one that we did when they were jamming the toilets. I'm sure you had this. Look how the sign is written. When you treat people with respect, most times, I'm not saying every time, most times you get it back. I met with some student leaders. I showed them the sign. I said, boys, get the word out. I'm doing this for you, but I want this to stop. And it stopped. It stopped, right? I don't like punishing everybody for the ills of a few. If you hadn't had parent panels, I would recommend you try it. In the chat, what does having a parent panel do for you? How does that build partnerships? What does having a parent panel do for you? How does that build partnerships? Jump in the chat. Come on, did I lose you? Input from everyone. Good, Atlanta. Diverse stakeholder representation. That's good, Ryan. It takes the focus off you. You're not up in front talking anymore. Variety of people involving parents. Yeah. And you're getting real parents there, right? And you don't get the perfect parents every year. You get parents that you struggled with. You get parents that are separated. You get parents of different ages and styles and races and all that kind of stuff. But it's the variety is the spice of life. But they're more likely to believe those parents because they're in the trenches with the other parents. And it gives them a voice. You're right, Keisha. Do it. Prep them, ask them, tell them the questions they're going to be asked and all those kinds of things. Building relationships, you got to be enthusiastic. There's my man, Mr. Burke. He yells at everybody in the hallway. Oh, yeah. He yells at people. Oh, yeah. And that is a little burst of enthusiasm there. Being enthusiastic builds partnership. It's contagious, my good man. If you don't have one of these things, they're called step and repeats. If someone wants to put that in the chat, get one. Every event we have here in Port Jervis, we put that thing out and people take pictures. And where do they put those pictures? Jump in the chat. Where do they put those pictures? Social media, Aaron, and it shows the school in a good light. Yeah, they're doing it in front of the school. It shows the school, and it helps build those partnerships. People see them, right? A lot of things there. So, all right, I just gave you a lot of stuff. I got one more story. We talked about 3 different sessions here. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And I have one more story I want to share. But before that, any other questions, points, things that you want to kind of maybe ask or again, takeaways, things that you're going to put into place tomorrow? Whose responsibility is it to build those partnerships? Let me ask that a question again. Whose responsibility is it? It's all of ours. It's not everybody, somebody, nobody, and everybody. It's all of our responsibility. That's right, Catherine. That's right, Suki. All right, one more story. One more story. Okay, here's my chat again. Okay. You can see me, Suki. We're back on. We're sharing. Yeah, good. Okay. All right. The last story here, and this story is about my dad. Mr. Joe is my dad. John X is my superintendent. And back in 05, my dad had colon cancer. My dad lost his vision due to diabetes, the pressure in the eyes. He had a surgery, it went bad, and he lost his vision. So he couldn't read, he couldn't drive. He was a pharmacist, he couldn't work anymore. And my brother gave my dad a kidney. He had colon cancer, lost his vision, and then he had a kidney transplant. And, you know, in 05, he starts walking. He got to honor the kidney. He wants to get in shape. And he says, I'm going to do the marathon. And we're like, Dad, a marathon? You haven't walked down the block and you're going to do a marathon? Like, what, are you crazy? We do the marathon in 06. We do the marathon in 07. And we do the marathon in 08. And this year we had a videographer with us. And it was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful day. There we are. My brother's in the blue here hat. And here's the videographer. And there's me and my dad. And it was a great day, but different than the first two marathons. He really wanted to finish those days. He, hurry up, let's go, let's go. And on this day, he just kept saying, let's just finish. Let's just finish, everybody. And there we are. And you can see we did finish, but we literally dragged him across the finish line. And, it was a tough go. The first 2 years, the time was in the 7-hour range. And on this day, you can see where the time was at, over 9 hours. We walked it, we didn't run it. And he did finish the marathon. There we are. And I talked before about the power of a single experience, the power of a single action. Well, my dad passed away after this marathon. When he got home, he had a heart attack and he passed away. I had driven 2 hours back home and I was just about home. I was almost in my driveway and they called and said, Andrew, Dad collapsed. You got to get back here. So I turn around, I go all the way back, and my dad had passed, but I got to see him one more time. I got to touch his face and hug him and kiss him. And I got to spend his last day with him. The whole day I was with him. And I am blessed to have a video of him. I'm going to put it in the chat here. YouTube, Mr. Joe Marathon. If you go to YouTube, Mr. Joe Marathon, if someone's active right now on their computer and you want to pull it up on YouTube and put the link in the chat, you can do that. But there's a 9.5-minute video of that day. So it was tough. I lost my dad and I was out of school the whole week. I was crushed. I was lost. He was only 66. And I was out of school the whole week. The following Monday, I lost my dad on a Sunday. I'm out the whole week. The following Monday, I was exhausted. We had the funeral, all those services. I couldn't, thanks, Suki. I couldn't go to school. And it was very challenging for me. I was out that Monday. I go to work that next Tuesday. So I'm the building principal about 6 days of a busy high school. I get to work early Tuesday morning. I am ready for people to say, Andrew, I'm sorry about your dad. I'm ready for people to say it. I go in early. I'm there. 77 voicemail messages, everybody. 77. And the first one was from my superintendent. 6:30 in the morning. The day after my dad died. He didn't know. It was that Monday. Dad died on a Sunday. It was the following Monday, not the week after, but the next day, 6:30 in the morning. my superintendent calls me and he says, Andrew, give me a call. This is X, Mr. Exantis. I want to hear about the marathon. I'm so excited for you. I know how much it means for you and your dad. I know your dad's your guy. Give me a call. That's the first message I walk into. And I started crying. And I, here I am telling you this story 16 years later of how important it was. You want to build partnerships with people? Make that call, write that card, do those little things extra, because you never know when it's going to matter the most. And that little 10-second phone call meant the world to me. So much, I'm telling you, on a Zoom session 16 years later on the ELN network, how important it is. So building partnerships and building relationships, do those little things. You don't know the impact it's going to have on people. Very important. I'll end here, folks. I love presenting. I love going to schools. I do in-person workshops. I inspire groups. We do book studies with some of my books. You can learn more about me at andrewmarotta.com. There's my email, andrewmarottallc@gmail.com. And I'd love to connect. I'm doing summer workshops with different groups, and I'm doing school openings. So if you're interested in that, I would love to connect with you. Again, my email's there, andrewmarottallc@gmail.com and andrewmarotta.com. If someone wants to throw that in the chat as well. So I thank you for your attention. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I'll open it up for questions and comments. Thank you, Arlen, for putting that in the chat there. Let me get the slideshow. Let me exit here. All right. Copy. All I would ask, if you're going to use my stuff, is that you give credit where credit is due. I've had some people take my stuff and run with it, but I'm sharing it. I like this group. They were very active today. And so here's the slideshow for you, okay? What's a question? What's a comment? What's your best takeaway? What's something you're going to do tomorrow? Muchas gracias, Suki. Yeah, Lana, you gotta be positive. You gotta be positive. I heard this quote, Alana: nothing bad can come out of being positive. Some people say, oh, you got that, when you're too positive. That's for the birds. Yeah. Jamie, reach out if you want some ideas about signs and those things. The branding of your school is very important. Here's my shrine to Port Jervis, right? Look what someone gave me today. You can see what I'm wearing today. Look what someone gave me. Is that not the best? Look at it. Is that not the best? I can add this to my props. Yeah. But I got Woody up there too. You talk about being positive, right? Here's my idol, man. I want to be positive and energizing and have great adventures and all of those kinds of things. So I want to drop them there. Cool. This was great. Yeah. Good. Oh, Ryan, I'd love to learn more about that. Yeah, good. And guys, please reach out. I'd love to come to your school or your organization to be your keynote speaker, to kick off your school, do some professional development. I really do enjoy coming in person. So again, you have my email, you have my contact information, and I'd love to connect with you guys. Cool. I'm in my office here. I got all my cards here. I got my notes, And here's another thing. Here, I'm going to tell you one more. We all have school budgets, right? I use a company called Sticker Mule. Great company there. They give tax-free for your school. I know we all have school budgets. I am constantly giving out stickers and magnets. I think this stuff is contagious. I got buttons here, right? Buttons, an old fashioned kind of thing. I see kids wearing these all over the place. Sticker Mule, they send out great kind of deals. I think those are great ways to build relationship as well. So, but we can end here, and this was a lot of fun. I got my timer, and we hit the mark here. So, thank you, everybody, and thanks for being with us today.
Andrew, we want to thank you so much. As they said in the chat, love your positivity. Your energy is very contagious. Made it very easy to sit through a full hour session with you and learn about these awesome strategies for developing relationships and the partnerships in the school setting. So thank you, Andrew. Once again, we're so happy to have you as part of the Ed Leaders Network presentation team. And be on lookout, Andrew. We're bringing him to Peoria in October for the IPA Fall Conference. He'll be doing a breakout session for us. So if you're in the Illinois, make sure to sign up for IPA's Fall Conference when you can do that, and get to see Andrew give a presentation live. That's going to be very exciting.